particular things that stuck out to you?
Yeah, just second half. I mean, be more consistent. First half we were really good on third down especially, and then second half we weren't as good. So it just comes down to execution all the way through 4 quarters. And that's kind of what we've really been preaching and trying to get corrected throughout this week.
When you get the first 2 downs right, like you did so many times, how frustrating is it for the third down to get away from you?
No, it's always, anytime. I mean, good football, you got to win on third down on either side of the ball, and we didn't do that in the second half. And so, yeah, no question about it. You put yourself in a position, to have a team on third and long or whatever it may be, and you got to make sure you execute and get the job done and get off the field.
When you think about, not playing 4 quarters, it seems like that's kind of been a consistent theme, not just defensive, but kind of team-wide. I mean, how do you get the guys to lock in and be consistent for 4 quarters?
I think, some of it early when we got here is just getting a young team to realize that now we've got guys that have been through the battle. So now it's a deal where you got to see it, and when it hits you in the mouth and it happens, I mean, you got to respond and realize that, okay, we get a third quarter and a drive doesn't go right on whatever side of the ball it is, okay? Well, you got to respond and not let that turn into 2 bad drives or one play goes wrong and now another play goes wrong because you're still worried about the last one. And move on, play the next play, play the next drive, whatever it may be, and focus on doing your job. And it's really that simple,
It seems like Deshaun Page has been getting a little more PT. I mean, what have you seen from him that's enabled that to happen?
Yeah, he's done a good job. I told him after the second game, after Arizona, I said probably should have played him a little bit more, to be completely honest with you. But I said, yeah, make sure you put a full week of practice together, and he's done that. Really, going into last week, he did. His playing time increased, and hopefully he'll continue that, this week.
When you have a couple of old guys at your positions there, what do you handle them differently during a week when things don't go as well as you wanted, and because they've seen it all before? How do you coach those guys up?
Yeah, that's a good question because to me there's 2 different ways. You got guys that are blatantly making a bad decision just because they're trying to make a play or whatever it may be, and then there's guys that are trying to do the right thing, they just get beat, right? Mm-hmm. So you handle those situations differently, in my opinion. But they know I have high expectations for them. Our entire defense does. You've been here for a long time. We expect you to execute at a high level, and especially in the linebacker room, there's a lot of guys that played a lot of football. And so I don't think I pulled the pedal back on them much. They would probably agree with that. If you ask them that. But that's just wrong is wrong, and you got to execute, and they know that.
Steve mentioned Deshaun getting him more snaps there. At the same time, you've got your 2 best guys. How do you walk that fine line between I need to get these guys snaps, but I have to take my best guys off the field?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, the thing about it is there comes a point where it's tipping if a guy's fatigued, where now maybe when he's 100% he is the best guy, but all of a sudden at 85% maybe he's not. So you got to make sure you try to balance those reps to not only get your best players in the field but also keep them fresh throughout to play 4 quarters, kind of like Steve was asking.
With 3 games of evidence now, what have your guys done well this year?
I think they've done a good job of handling the things that we're given schematically and asked them to do. I think the leadership has been pretty good. Buki has done a good job of that. I think we need to tackle better. We haven't tackled as well as I wanted to, but I do think there's a lot of good there. But as a coach, you're going to always find the negative and try to correct that. So, but those are the things I've seen them do really well.